And we are live, folks. Hello, and welcome back to yet another episode. I know it's been a long-awaited time, but welcome back to another episode of the StingersUp podcast. As always, I am your host, Christopher Raymond, and with me is the amazing, I don't know, I'm like gesturing off to the side, the amazing Elena. Is it Burge or Burge?
Berger.
Burge. I was hoping it
Kind
was
of
that because that
fancy.
sounds really fancy, and that
I
would be
know.
awesome.
Interesting fact about my last name. My family, we have my dad has two brothers, and his brothers, Burge. They just go with Burge. My dad was like, add a little spice, because that's technically how you're supposed to pronounce it, and everybody just was like, oh, Burge is easier. We have an
Nice.
accent over the E. Mm-hmm.
I really should have like double checked with that right before as I was saying it, but nice. I like Berger. That sounds cool. I know my last name, like way back when. I think when my ancestors were coming over. I think it was like a French last name at one point, so it was like Ramon, and then good
I
old
think you should
America.
switch it back. You
Maybe
should
the thing was,
reintroduce to Ramond.
I think it was more of like a step side of the family. So I actually have no French like blood or ancestry. So that's probably why I don't really stick with it more. But nice. We both have like somewhat fancy last names. Yours is much fancier than mine. But nonetheless, with me is Alina, and we are here to bring back the StingersUp podcast because, of course, we are both on the orientation team. Because much like the other guests, she is another fantastic orientation leader. Despite our absence of polos right now, we're not on the clock. But orientation is back in full swing, so therefore the StingersUp podcast is back in full swing. Hopefully, everyone's semester has been pretty good, and y'all got some acceptable final grades. I'll leave it at that one right there. So, Alina, enough about me rambling for the moment. How's your day been so far?
My day has been good. Let me think of the
Nice.
timeline here. I got up around I think like 8:30 or 9, took a shower. I ate a breakfast of champions, which consisted of 4 falafels that I microwaved. Um,
Fair enough.
yeah,
You had me at falafels, and I was like, oh, okay, nice.
this is
No,
a heavy debate topic in my life. I believe that lunch and dinner food belongs in the morning as well. Breakfast food, I can't do it. I will have like burritos. I'll have leftovers for breakfast. I've been doing this since I was like 7 or 8. I will have pot stickers for breakfast like at least once a week.
I mean, well, that's the thing about the breakfast foods, right? Is it's hard to have time for them. Like I feel like, oh, I'm always down for that nice breakfast, but you gotta have that time because you gotta like prep everything, get the eggs going, get those hash browns going. I like to, get my creativity going on cooking. But most days, if you don't have time, you're like, hey, what's
A
up,
Chipotle
leftovers?
bowl from
Yeah,
last night.
slice of pizza. I see you're calling my name. Like 30 seconds later, let's do this. And it's not even like fully heated at that point. You're just like, good
Yeah,
enough.
I a good breakfast alternative, the one breakfast food that I do like is smoothies. I love making smoothies. I actually used to work at Jamba Juice, so I know all the secrets. I make
Delicious.
a very good smoothie. If you wanna, once we're done rolling, I can share the secret
Some
recipes, but
executive secrets.
that's not for everyone. They don't Not everyone gets to know about the secret
Careful. The
recipes.
Jamba police might now be on to you. They're like, we think you may be disclosing.
I
Uh,
think the Jamba Police, another Jamba Juice related fact. When I was younger, all the teachers would always tell me that Wikipedia was a very unreliable source because people could edit it, right? I think I might have talked to you about this
you
before,
did, but
about
please,
me
please
editing the
tell me
Wikipedia
again. I
pages.
love this story.
Yeah, I edited the Jamba Juice Wikipedia page, and it stayed up there for several months. And I kept going back to check on it. I was like, "Whoa, that's weird." I made up I said there was a fake ad campaign where Jamba Juice was saying that they put stem cells in their smoothies. Stayed there for months. Feel like the Jamba Juice police could get a
The,
little more
the
mad at me about
supplements.
that. But
Yeah.
I continue to promote I feel like high school teachers everywhere love me for making sure that Wikipedia is unreliable as possible, and they are telling the truth when they say no, Wikipedia is bad. Yeah, I'm the
You've
problem.
you've justified. Well, no, maybe you're justifying their claims. They're like, man, somebody better post something false, otherwise I'm gonna be a liar. Suddenly, Wikipedia gets really certifiable these days. I'm gonna look real bad.
Yeah,
Uh,
I remember like hearing them be like, "Oh yeah, like don't use Wikipedia because it's bad." I was like, "Well, how easy is it? How easy is it? I'm kind of a mastermind, so we'll figure it out."
I like to think too, like it would be a like one of those comic book plots where you would write
Mhm.
that just thinking like it's humorous and like haha false, and then like someone at Jamba Juice is like, whoa, they are onto us. How did they know? How did they know? And he's like sitting in the lab. They're just like grinding up stem
Oh
cells
my
and like these
gosh.
salt and pepper shakers, just like into they're not even mixing it with like the main ingredients. They just add it as a topping right at the
You
end.
know, I'm actually imagining somebody reading the Wikipedia page, like some person who goes to Wikipedia pages and reads through all of them, and they're reading the
Ugh.
Jamba Juice one, then they're like, "Oh my God, really?" They
Or
like
they're
see
like,
the stem cell thing. They're like, "What?
dude,
They did that?"
I've never
Text their
been asking
friend.
for that option. I been missing out? I've only been asking for the vitamins. I didn't realize there was like an extra 70-cent stem cell
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
infusion.
I remember I did it to a few
I
other
pay for it.
ones. I believe I actually edited the bear Wikipedia page that was about like all the different kinds of bears.
Oh, okay. I was like the company. I guess it's
Yeah, yeah.
Bayer, but
No, bears, all the different species of the bear animal. Yeah, I edited it to add something about a um like some kind of like mating ritual that they did, like some kind of dance. I think I added something about there being like a special dance that they did.
the
Stayed up
bear
for many
dance.
months. You'd think there are different levels of protection on Wikipedia pages, so there are like probably the Wikipedia page about like Abraham Lincoln. You can't edit it
Now, how does
because
how
it's like
does
secure.
how does
Secure.
Wikipedia protection work? Because I'm totally under the guise of like, yeah, no, don't cite it on any, like the old don't use it on papers because it's anyone could edit it, just like you said.
Yeah.
How does the whole security work on making sure somebody doesn't just go like Abraham Lincoln was actually a robot,
there
and
are there are different levels of protection on each page, so I believe like the really like ones that they know that people are using for research projects, so like
mhm.
the Titanic, World War II, like Abraham Lincoln, those ones are like top security, and then there's some that are like publicly monitored so people can edit them, but
Top
there
security
is there are
Titanic
like
page.
people in charge. Top security Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
But there are some where like people are looking at it constantly, so if anybody makes an edit and it's just wrong, they can like
Just
fix it. But
hammer right
then
down on
there's
it. Yeah.
some that are just completely unprotected, and the only way they're going to catch it is if somebody like an editor comes in and is like, "Oh, that's wrong." So my Wikipedia edits, they did get taken down, all of them. Even the one where I edited the Capri Sun page to say that there was a flavor called banana fish that was only sold in like Bali or
Now that
something like.
sounds believable, and I'm
I
I'm actually kind
know.
of disappointed that's not true because
I
I
checked back recently. It was
I was actually
gone.
just talking about Pacific Cooler and what a strange name that is. Like I don't like I always just think of like literally coolers that you bring to the beach and like that sort of plasticky taste. Like I know they don't taste that way, but I would believe banana fish. That sounds like way better.
See, I'm wondering when you were talking about Pacific Cooler, was this with another person or were you just sitting there like, hmm,
This was with
like
another
looking at
person.
a Capri
This
Sun
was
box? Hmm.
no, I haven't had Capri Suns in a while. It was like I think we were musing on like just the way you act as a kid. You're like, yeah, you coming from playing, you got locked outside all day because it was, back in the
Oh my
day.
gosh.
And then you're like, dude, I can't wait for that Capri Sun. And somehow, I think I was saying a Capri Sun hasn't been refreshing since I was like 7 in the way that you hope it'll be refreshing. Like they're
The way
not
it's
bad.
cold.
Yeah, like that sort of like, oh wow, that like brightened my day up. I'm back in the game. Like you have a Capri Sun now, you're like, that was it. Um, I think a
Did you
fun.
ever
Go
have
on.
like running club when you were in elementary school?
If there was a running club, I was not
Not
interested
aware
in
of
it.
it.
Or if I was aware of it, I was like, tell you what, you guys have fun running. I got this N64 at home. I'm just gonna. I guess it was an Xbox at that point, but
I'll just be over there.
yeah, I'm just gonna be over here not running.
Well, at the end of our running club, if you did like, because it
I
would
don't-
be during recess and lunch, if you did like 3 or 4 laps, they'd just give you like this golden otter pop. And I'd finish running like panting, and then they'd be like, "Here you go." They wouldn't let you pick the flavor, which I mean makes sense because there would only be
Was
two
gold the
flavors that people would
flavor,
want.
or was it? Or are you just saying gold because it was just
It
like
was gold
amazing at
because it
that
was
point?
amazing
Oh,
at that
okay.
point.
I was hoping
But
they
it,
like actually had like the wrapper was all shiny and
yeah, California public elementary school,
they like
shiny gold wrapper. But they'd give us these otter pops,
part of the
and
budget.
it was just the best thing ever. I had never appreciated an otter pop more in my life. And then revisiting otter pops, I was like, oh, this is just juice that's frozen into a
You're like,
stick.
this is just frozen sugar. Yeah, it's still good. Don't get me wrong, but
I mean,
yeah. I
it
think a
is.
friend was talking about how when they were a kid, they were like, yeah, I used to, you know, did you ever have the problem where you'd stab through the? Because I think I was talking about like, yeah, you know, when you were like really thirsty and you're like 6 and you're like, I just want this Capri Sun, man. Why is this straw not puncturing this pouch right now? And they were like, oh, well, you ever have the problem where like it stabs through the back? And I was like, no, I was never a savage with my Capri Suns. Like,
Oh, I was a savage with my Capri
well,
Suns.
then I described my technique. I was like, no, it's like a dunking a I didn't realize I had a technique until we were having this conversation. I was like, no, you have to like, it's like a hook. You like stab in and then down, in and down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true.
It should never be puncturing out the backside. I should release like a what not to do with a Capri Sun video.
You know, this conversation is making me realize like how many things I just get so hyped for as a child. Things that I like seriously was like, oh my gosh, yes. Like when I was little, I probably would have like punched somebody for a Twinkie. Now I'm like, I do not want that even near me anymore.
You know what I used to get really psyched about? Because I know like as a kid, God, what's that game you play before like baseball where it's on a stick? T-ball.
Uh,
T-ball.
oh yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, you know, wee little lad. And so, you go to like the T-ball game and you're like 4 or whatever. Like, cause I think this was before like I started up a school, and then you do the game, and then you're like, oh, dude, we're gonna get those little, what are they called, home run pies? Like those little pie things. It's not a pie. It's like a little it's like a hot pocket, but it's just filled with like sugar and fruit filling instead, and
Huh.
you don't microwave it.
I played softball for 10 years and I've never heard of this.
No, this was like a thing my parents would do. We like would go to the
Oh,
market
okay.
and grab
Okay,
one, you know.
okay.
And I think you can get them now. They're like, you know, 70 cents. And you look on the nutrition thing and you're like, dear Jesus. But you know, when you're a kid, you're just like, what? And you know, they got like the usual like, oh,
Pocket full of
apple.
sugar?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think they're called home run pies. They're not too bad. But it's definitely one of those things where you're like, oh dude, I used to love these, and you try one now and you're just like, oh, this just like tastes
Bad.
like I'm dying as I'm eating this. Yeah, definitely goes to like, oh, I had a much more different lens
Yeah,
as a child.
when I was a child, I
Understandably.
have this like almost core memory of my dad taking me to McDonald's and I was like, yes, 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 yes. And I like remember like being so excited to just rip into the play place. Like I got a toy. This is imprinted in my mind. Like very few things from that time period are.
Yeah.
I was so excited to be at McDonald's. Now I'm
You
just like McDonald's. That's gross. Gross food.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie. If they had a bigger playground, I would still probably be psyched. Like if they just were like if as you grew up, you're like, I never noticed there was the big playground. I'd be like, I'd still be over there, like, yo, get me that McDouble. Free shout out to McDonald's for
I'll
the
be in
stat.
the I'll be in that big box with bubble windows.
I'm about to collect my check from McDonald's for the shout out to their food. But do they still have like ball pits? Like, I don't know. I remember growing
No.
up and they had those, and then like all of a sudden they're just like, dude, there's chainsaws inside there and alligators. No, I mean I don't. But that's how they were acting. Was like, no, ball pits are deadly. Like
I haven't seen a ball pit in my gosh. I haven't seen a ball pit in forever.
someone's gonna be listening, like, what are they talking about? But yeah, what do they have now? I mean, is it just nothing? You just
Oh, I've seen it. You know, a lot of places will instead of ball pits, they use these big like soft cubes. They're like kind of I they're hard to
interesting.
describe.
Yeah.
I went to when I was still at the age to go to like trampoline parks. They're just like kind of squishy cubes, and you throw like jump into the squishy cubes. But I don't
Interesting.
think they have them at McDonald's anymore because you know, like ketchup and other liquids
Yeah,
probably might be absorbed.
and maybe this was like the old like folklore of it. You know what I mean? I don't know if this was actually true, but wasn't like some case where people were leaving like, I don't know, like gross used syringes or like something
Yeah,
of that nature that you would definitely not want your kid like
I think
rummaging
it's like
around in.
it's folklore. I remember hearing like fingers, like oh, you find a finger in a ball pit. I
That
that's
oddly
weird
sounds more believable than the
than syringes.
syringes. I don't know. With all the like fingers that accidentally make it into food, someone's just eating their burger and they're like, huh, and just kind of chuck into the ball pit. You know, it's some 5-year-old doesn't really know better. They're just like, that's a weird piece of burger.
Oh
Throw it
my
into the ball
gosh.
pit. It just kind of
This
like makes
is
its way down.
this is the Stingers Up podcast we needed. Talking about
Yes,
syringes and fingers in
it
ball
happens.
pits.
It happens. Don't worry. I think in the or I remember in the episode I had with Jenny, I think we spent a good time just talking about like Pokemon and League of Legends. You know, the good stuff in life.
The good
Um,
stuff.
man, now I strangely want some fast food, but I know I'll be probably disappointed once I
We're
eat it.
gonna cut the tape and then we're
Cut
gonna
the
head
tape,
over
edit, and then we
to
suddenly just have like burgers in our hands.
we say 1 sec. I do live right across from a McDonald's.
Ooh, I used to back when I was living out in the Bay Area, and that was I'll probably pick the word lethal because my God, it's so easy just to be like, oh man, I got this chicken though. I could cook that. You know what's easier? If I just walk right over there, have them cook some chicken, and then I'll just buy it from them.
You know what's even worse? I live literally 2-minute walk from Taco Bell.
Ooh.
Taco Bell. Their cravings menu. You can get a burrito for $1.
Oh my God, Taco Bell. I feel like I haven't really had Taco Bell in a while for probably good reasons. But I actually used to work at a bar as a bouncer.
Oh, I want to hear about this.
That was like my early biochemistry days before my tutoring was more hardcore. And no, there was definitely stories where, you know, it wasn't too bad. It certainly wasn't like Roadhouse level, which is probably nice. I don't want to get stabbed too often, or ever.
I want to hear some of your crazy stories. I have a story to share after. Love talking about my old jobs. I'm going to talk to you about Baskin Robbins. Just you do your story.
Everyone I worked with was like awesome. You know what I mean? It almost reminds me of like kind of being on the O team where people were like, no, we're like good, which, you know, you gotta be, you know, you don't want to be like, I don't really trust that guy type deal. But, you know, mostly you just be like folks, you know, the stuff you'd really expect, people just getting too drinky, as I like to call it. I don't know if I say drunk on the podcast, but you know, just acted a fool and coming up and you're like, hey man, can you stop that? Thankfully I didn't really have to get like it's physical with most folks. Most times you just come up and you're like, hey man, you're acting like a fool right now. People aren't liking it. And they just like feel bad. They're like, oh, you're right. And it's like, it's okay, man. Just chill out and we'll all have a good night. Okay. And they're like, okay. And it's like, and that's like most of the time. And then occasionally someone's like, you know, like, no, man. And you're like, okay, well, I have the uniform on and you don't. So you're going to have to leave. And thankfully, yeah, most nights it didn't really get too crazy, which is good because I really wouldn't want to have to get too hurt necessarily, where it's like, oh man, someone hit me with a bottle, you know, because people are showing up with like 5 or 6 of their like drunk friends. So you're like, oh, please just leave nicely. Please don't make this like a thing. Type deal. But I remember getting out super late because, you know, the bars are open till 2. Yeah. And so, you know, you close up and then you got to like clean and all that stuff. And, you know, usual closing duties on a job. And so it wouldn't be uncommon to leave by like 3, maybe, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Well, especially kind of a, you know, kind of like on the O team, you kind of hang out and you talk about the night a little bit, like the brief unwinding. And then you're like, okay, well, let's all go part our ways. Point being, you're like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I've been working all night. I've been on my feet. You finally take the earplugs out because then you got like the music going, and the only thing open would ever like always be Taco Bell.
Oh like, yeah.
So it just became like this probably really bad habit where you get out, you'd be like handing all this stuff, you're like dealing with folks. Sometimes you like smell like alcohol that you haven't even been drinking because it like, you know, spilled on you, and you're just like, I was always afraid of getting pulled over because I was like, no, I swear I've been like the one sober one, but But yeah, you're just like, oh, I guess Taco Bell it is again. So you just got into this habit of just like beelining it for Taco Bell at like the middle of the night. You're driving down 80, just like Batman, like pulling 90. You're like, no one's out right now. I need a burrito.
Oh my gosh. What was your order from Taco Bell? Do you have any fan favorites? I would guess that you like the Crunchwrap Supreme. That was my guess.
I usually don't go to that because I feel like sometimes it would be too tortilla-y. And I'm like, hey, man, I want more crunch, less wrap. Usually I would go for like some crazy burrito at that time because I would just be like super hungry and I'm like, give me a couple burritos. I usually would like over order. I was one of those guys. Like, give me like 3 of those burritos, and you're like, I didn't need 3 of them.
I do
But
that every time. I have the same order every time, and I get the beanie cheese and rice burrito. I'll usually get 3 of them and then 2 in. I'm like, wow, that was way too much. And then I just have the other one sit in my fridge for like a week, and then I throw it away.
see, well, that's the thing. You have to have like leftover discipline and be like, all right, I'm gonna eat that burrito, and that kind of brings us full circle back to that breakfast conversation. Bam, do you like that?
Taco Bell for breakfast.
Exactly. Well,
It's
you
happened
got to
before.
eat it, or it's gonna go bad. I think the first day of orientation this summer, we actually came back, and Giselle was my training partner, and we came back from lunch. She was like, "How's your lunch?" I was like, "Yeah, I just kind of ate pizza. Like I had some leftovers, and it had to go." So my first lunch on the day of like the seeing students was amazing leftover pizza, super fuel.
Amazing.
Green and gold fuel right there.
Yeah, I think I
All
had
day.
maybe even worse than that. I think I had like some half-eaten like leftover Mexican rice from a
Delicious.
restaurant that had been like
Actually
a
sounds a
couple
lot
of
better
days
than what
old.
I ate. It
Was
still
it?
sounds better than what I ate.
Yeah, maybe we're on the same leftover wavelength that day.
Yeah, I know. I'm like always when I grab on lunch break, I'm just like, I know I could cook. I know I have enough time,
But
but I think I'm just gonna like eat these leftovers and watch some YouTube for a little bit.
oh, do you like YouTube?
I do like YouTube. I mean, I don't like who doesn't like YouTube unless you've been like banned or they
A
didn't
lot
pay
of
you enough.
people.
Really?
Yeah, well, I grew up
Like a
being
detractor.
a big I loved Smosh. I loved Smosh. I loved Do you know who Tobuscus is? Are you aware?
I think so. I'm a little rusty on my like Smosh facts and trivia.
Your Smosh facts and
My
trivia?
Smosh facts and trivia.
Yeah, I actually am very disciplined in my my
Nice.
Smosh studying, but no, I was very
major.
into YouTube from a young age. I've watched more YouTube during my life than I have watched like TV at this point. I watched a
enough.
lot of YouTube. What kind of stuff are you interested in on YouTube?
So admittedly, I play paintball all the time. So
I didn't know this.
so most of my like just when I'm especially at lunchtime when I'm trying to like just not think about work really quick, it'll just be like watching some like paintball like video where it's either some like cut up where someone's add some like techno music type deal, it's all slow motion and stuff, or it's just like, oh man, this is us today this weekend, and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. But no, I go out pretty much every weekend for the most part.
Really?
Or I try to. Yeah.
Is it fun?
It is fun. I may not go tomorrow just because I know it's been like stupid hot in Sacramento, but I have definitely gone out in like 105-degree weather, and it's not that bad.
Where do you go to do this paintballing?
So shout out to Capitol Edge Paintball Park out on Florin Road. That is pretty much my main spot to go, which is pretty cool. It's kind of like, I don't know, in the middle of Sacramento-ish area, so it's pretty central for folks. But I go out there and just kind of shoot it up for a couple hours and then head on back and have a good day. No, it's pretty cool. It's like a nice crowd out there and stuff. It's almost like I kind of describe it as like almost like going to a bar. Like you're not drinking. I don't know. Some people drink, but
You're paintballing.
but yeah, but it's like the same crew. You know what I mean? So you'll go and you're like, oh, there's so and so. Oh, there's so and so. And it's just like a great opportunity to get out and get some good exercise. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, like how much does it cost to do paintball? Because it's something I would want to do, but I feel like it's a hard thing to like get into.
So it's definitely one of those things where the most expensive time, there's kind of multiple answers to this, but like if you wanted to like have your own stuff, the most expensive part is really the getting the stuff. You know what I mean? I have like my own kind of like a setup right now. I got my own gear, man. But really it's like you pay like where I go to, it's $25 to play for the day, and because like all your markers, or call them guns or whatever. I was gonna say, can I say guns on this episode? Like I have a producer sitting here or something.
You did say drinky before, and then like 1 minute after you just got into you just switched over to drunk.
I actually say if I'm speaking to like somebody, I'm like, oh man, I'm feeling drinky right now. But the 25 gets you in. It gets you like to fill your air tank because they're all based off of like air going through, and then like a thing of paintballs, which gives you like 2,000 rounds. Is anywhere from like $40 to $60. And like me, I always have like stuff left over. Like I have a bunch in my closet right now. So like me, when I go tomorrow, I'll just be like a quick $25 and then hop in and just play it up.
That
But it's
sounds
really not too
so
bad.
fun.
Yeah,
That
and then
sounds like a really good time.
no, and if you're renting, it's pretty similar, because you just go. I'm sorry, I'm having like coffee burps. You show and here's this, and they'll give you like the whole thing, the mask, the all the necessary gear to go play. You don't get all the fancy stuff, but they're like, here's some paint, here's the fun paintball guns, here's the mask, like have a good time.
I'm hearing O-team paintball sesh.
I am so down. This might have to be at the end of the summer. Everyone could just like work out their frustrations. Like, you never responded to my text. No, but no, I would be super down. I think it'd be a good time to even get like a little crew going at some point.
I think that'd be hilarious too. Just like a little O-team paintball war.
I would be down. Yeah, like because I know most folks kind of live in that area ish. So I would so be down, especially once the weather kind of calms down. I don't mind the heat, like I mentioned earlier, but I know it can kind of detract some from wanting to run and gun in the middle of the sun.
We could do like a 3 a.m. paintball sesh once the sun has gone down. The earth is cool.
If I had access to that, I would be so down for it. But no, it's really not too bad. Like, I say anywhere really up to like the upper 90s is pretty comfortable. Like you have these cool shaded areas where you hang out in between like matches and stuff. So you're not just like in a field, just like,
it's interesting. I hate heat. I moved here from San Diego. So this is my first Sacramento summer.
You like traded one heat for a different heat.
Yeah. What the one thing I'll say is that my energy bill starting like this month, probably going to be like double. Probably going to be like double what it was during the winter.
No, and I mean, that's the thing though, like Sacramento will really like have these random hot spikes. Anyone who's lived here for a while will tell you that. It's like, oh, I know the rest of the country's dealing with a very unfortunate heat wave right now. Shout out to everyone who's dealing with that. Meanwhile, Sacramento's just being Sacramento. It's just like, like this is just me every year, where it's like you always get these random spikes where it's like, hey, it's 110, like everyone duck, stay hydrated, you know what I mean? And yeah, you just anytime this happens, you just crank the AC. Everyone hides under a rock. We're like these lizards in the middle of the desert, essentially under a rock, just being like, I'm just gonna close all my blinds, hide my house. I know going out to check the mail the other day was like, wasn't brutal, that's a bit more of exaggeration, but it was definitely a temperature shock just walking outside.
I did the same thing yesterday. I went to get my mail. It's probably like a 2-minute walk there and a 2-minute walk back, and I was like like, is there an oasis that I can see?
Mine's like right outside my house, and I was like, oh, this is terrible.
Luckily, my apartment complex just reopened the pool, which is awesome because it has been closed the whole time I've been living here. And I walked over yesterday because yesterday was the first day where it was open, and it was full of children. There was like 20, 30, there were like 20 people there, and I was like, no, why can't I have good things to myself? Luckily there is a pool now, so that's an option to save me from the heat. But also, my house in San Diego didn't even have air conditioning. We didn't even really.
It's like the Bay
honestly,
Area.
We didn't really even like need it that much. I mean, over time, there actually have been like noticeable weather changes, which is super interesting to me. San Diego, when I moved there as a child, I moved there from Massachusetts when I was 3. And my whole childhood, very temperate. We'd have like a month where it'd be a little rainy, but then the rest of the year usually doesn't break 80. And then during the summer, it would sometimes get up to 90, but that was kind of the extent of that. And since time has gone on, it's gone at like up and down. It's gotten like more severe in both directions. Like the winters are colder, the summers are hotter, like a lot hotter. we started breaking 100 over the past couple of years, and started like it snowed in San Diego this winter.
Wow.
I know, it was crazy. I wasn't there because I had moved here, but it
Yeah.
snowed, and this was in like a regular like suburb area. This wasn't in like the mountains or anything crazy like that.
Mhm.
Like it started
And
snowing,
I'm
so
guessing
that
it
was
like
insane.
never snows in San Diego.
I don't think it had snowed since like 1950.
I can believe that. Yeah, I know it never
Yeah.
snows here practically, and like similarly, like oh yeah, you go up to the hills, you'll find some snow. But like the last time I remember snow in Sacramento was like this barely any snow, and everyone like ran out of the classroom, and it was like, oh, it's a miracle, and it was like like barely enough to get a couple snowflakes in your hand type deal, much less
Wow.
being like snow is falling, let's make a snowman or something like that. So like I can imagine if it were to suddenly be like that, it would just be like, what is going on?
It was
I'm
crazy. It was
not ready for
honestly
this.
crazy. Yeah, I so it's definitely been hard to adjust to the weather here.
Hmm.
It feels very different. And kind of missing San Diego a little bit right now, but I came back from a trip a few weeks ago actually because I was there for
Yeah,
a little bit, and
at least it's not
immediately
too
I was
far.
like, "Can I go back?" It's
Yeah.
an 8-hour drive.
I mean, that's a debatable number.
That's true.
Um, as someone who has family in both Humboldt and LA, I have learned those numbers can vary depending on the music you're listening to. I think I clocked
This is true.
4 hours from Humboldt back to Sacramento one time,
Oh
and
my
I was just like,
gosh.
"Go!" Like that was back when the like that Bad Meets Evil album came out, and I was like, "I'm feeling it right now on repeat." Um,
I went on a
but
drive
yeah, I know.
recently with
Yeah, it's about an
yes.
average 9 hour drive. I totally mean. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I went on a drive with Sarah because Sarah's from Fresno,
Gotcha. Yeah.
like a little bit outside of Fresno, and I was driving them to Fresno, and it's supposed to be like a 3 or 4 hour drive depending.
Mhm.
I turned on like my favorite Panic at the Disco album, and we like 2.5.
Well, of course, like even if you're not individually speeding,
Mhm.
anyone who lives in California knows that the speed of like traffic on the freeway never sticks at 65. We're like, hey, that's like a recommendation, right?
Yeah,
Like, let's
well,
all just rock 85
you
type
look
deal.
at Google Maps and you put in like, oh, I want to go here. And it
Hmm.
tells you the ETA based off of the speed that people are going on the highway,
Oh, really?
not based off the speed limit. So if you were to like say, hey, Apple Maps, I want to go to like, let's say Lake Natoma, and then you get on the highway and you start driving like
Shout
45, or
out
you
to the
start
Aquatic
driving like
Center.
shout out to the Sac State Aquatic Center. I'm actually going there tonight. I'll
What?
loop back at the
Nice.
end. Anyways, but if you say you're going there and you drive like 60 miles per hour on the freeway, you're
Oh,
not gonna get there at the time that it said because it's based off of like all the data from the other cars on the highway.
like you gotta drive like a gangster.
But anyways, back to Lake Natoma. They are having a sunset kayak tonight from
Ooh. Do you already have to have like signed up? Oh, I think we're losing. Hold on, folks. We're having technical difficulties. All right, and I think we're back.
you're good now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't see you. We're getting attacked, folks.
Okay,
Sac
there you
State
go.
hack attack.
Ha ha ha.
There
Okay,
we
I can
go.
see you now.
Nice. We're back. We're back.
All right. Did you hear what I said about Lake Natoma?
I heard they have a sunset kayak.
Mm-hmm. Sunset
Kayaking.
kayak. It's tonight from 7 to 9, and
So-
I'm so excited about it.
I was gonna say, did you have to have signed up, or can I just like roll up, be all excited, and
I
like
think you
flash
can
the
roll
orientation
up.
badge?
Yeah, I looked. You could try to flash the orientation badge. That'd probably be like, okay, yeah, it's still $20,
I'll
and
be
then
like,
you'd be
come
like, oh.
on.
Then you pull out your wallet. You're like, okay,
I will
fine.
trade you some GE. I will do a free advising session for you if we waive.
But
You
it
have to
can
do, like, the
only be
Jedi trick.
10 minutes. It can only be 10 minutes.
You have to be like,
And
you will let the orientation later on the kayak.
yeah, I believe it's like $20, and you can show up. I looked at the website. There was no like reservation link.
That's
But
awesome. Yeah.
I'm so excited.
God, maybe
So
so.
excited.
Sounds kind of nice. That's like completely on the opposite side of town for me. That's like the only issue I really have is like Natoma, which isn't their fault. But I will blame them for it anyways. They should have made that lake closer to me. Darn it. But that's usually like my biggest, I don't say restriction, but like thing that stops me from going out there. Because like I love Lake Tantoma. Even before I was going to Sac State, I would like when I was like working full time, I was like, dude, I'm just gonna go kayaking each weekend. I would try to be out there like at like 7 a.m.
Oh my
right when it
gosh.
opened. And yeah, I just haven't been in a while, especially once COVID broke out. I was like, oh, I'm just
I've never been.
really no, it is
Mhm.
super cool. Like so Sac State's pretty much like I think all the staff are students. I could be mistaken on that. It could just be like primarily students. But nonetheless, I remember the last time I went out there, which admittedly was kind of a couple years. It's ironically, I don't think I've gone since I've now become a Sac State student. So
Oh
I've
my
never been able to
gosh.
like take advantage or be like, hey guys, I'm one of you now. I was just like, man, I'm just like a lowly ARC student. Not that there's anything wrong with ARC students, but I was like, whoa, they're like at a 4 year. That's super cool. But no, they're super friendly. They got all sorts of stuff out there. Like I was always a kayak dude. Because I would just be like, yeah, let me go out there. I would kind of like pack myself like a couple snacks, put it in a waterproof pouch, and like jam it in the pocket of my like
Oh my
swim shorts,
gosh.
and just like be out there for 2 hours. I would go upriver, make my way up to what is it, Negro Bar, is the next kayak rental spot, and I would show up there, and they'd be like, "Who are you? Why do you have a rental kayak?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from down at the aquatic center. Do you guys have any water? I need to get back." And they're like, "We have a spigot," and I was like, "Check, that'll do."
Perfect. That's
Yeah,
water.
perfect. And they're all like looking at me, and I'm like, guys, I'm really thirsty right now. And then just
Yeah,
like paddle my way back.
you made a journey. You kind of like journeyed all the way to up there.
Yes,
They must have been
it was like
impressed.
an odyssey. I remember having this like spider on my kayak on the way back, and it was like this little dude, and he was just like at the very end, and I was like,
This is my friend.
just you and me, buddy. And then at one point I couldn't find him. I was like, no, Wilson, like where did he go?
I
Um,
actually, on that drive with Sarah, there was a bug on the car for a while. There was a bug on the car for a while, and we had that
just
same
ride it out.
experience. And it like it fell off, and I was like, no, that was our
You just like
friend.
instantly hit the brakes. You're like, go back, get him, get him.
I find him somehow.
Yeah, I went.
A miracle.
Yeah, one time when I was camping up to 50, I usually go like up Ice House Road, which is a giant road, so like not giving away my spot. But nonetheless, I usually go up like kind of up in the Sierras or whatnot. And I remember driving out there, and I noticed there was like this like bumblebee in my car, or like a honeybee or whatever. And I noticed it kind of like right about when I got out there, and I was like, oh man, of course, like when you see like a spider or a bee in your car, you're like, all right, man, just don't sting me, and we will
And we're
be.
good.
I should put my hand over here for the full driving. You're like, all right, man, just let's be cool. Let's be cool about this. And I remember like getting up
Let's be
there,
civil. Let's be adults.
trying to like be like, all right, let's. I felt like I was like a little kid capturing a spider and giving it like a stick and a leaf and being like, that's what it's used to. But like the opposite, like where can I drop this guy off? That's what it's used to, as if it's lived in the mountains, because I obviously just brought a honeybee from Sacramento. So if there's an invasion of Sacramento bees in the Sierras, that's my fault. Sorry, guys. But I just remember like dropping this guy off on, it's like all cold up in the mountains, and this bee's just like, bro, you got a sweater. And I just remember finding like some concrete barrier, and I was just like, good luck. It's in the sunlight.
Oh
And
my
I was like, here
gosh.
you go, bro. Like,
What if that bee was pregnant? You could have just introduced an invasive species.
then that would have been the queen bee, and in which
Oh,
case that bee was slipping if it was in my car.
and in which case you should be flattered that
Yes,
she
yes.
she chose the
That bee
Christmobile
was
as
in
a
a
place to
very wrong
rest.
place. She was very far from her hive where she could have been. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just remembered. I need to tell you my Baskin Robbins story before I forget.
Delicious. 31 flavors.
This is in 31 flavors. The 31st day of the month was terrible because scoops were like, I believe like 99 cents instead of the regular price, which is like
Yeah.
$3 or something. But it's a deal, that for sure. But when I worked there, it was probably the most like high school job you could have. I worked during the summer, I worked 40-hour weeks. I was working 40 hours a week. I was working like 8-hour shifts for 5 days a week.
I mean, that's not bad.
It was bad when I was like
I
17
mean, I
and
could
the
see that
manager
being
would like
maybe
leave.
more ice cream exposure than you'd like, but
Oh, yeah.
that's not too
Way
bad,
more. It was bad for somebody who was like 17 and the manager
Yeah.
would just like
Yeah,
leave.
yeah. And you're
The
like,
manager would leave and I would be there alone.
have fun. Yeah.
I had so much fun. I remember actually one of my best friends worked there with me, so like we got some good time to bond, and I'm happy that was where we kind of like became friends with each other. But the reason I quit Baskin Robbins was because the managers were very like I was there all the time. I was probably in the store more than they were during that summer because they would just pop in to like make sure everything was in line.
Yeah.
And I got paid minimum
Has
wage.
the ice cream not melted? Awesome.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, but
Literally.
they kept me like basically being in charge of the store, and there was this pipe that kept leaking. And I was like, "Hey, there's this pipe that's on the floor and it keeps leaking and I keep almost slipping."
Yeah,
And the manager was like,
I have this Willy Wonka image that it's just leaking ice cream. And you're like, I'm not really complaining though. Like you just keep in this bowl underneath it and periodically you just like take a couple bites and you're like, now we got to let it refill.
The implication is that the
but I know
tubes in all of Baskin Robbins have ice cream in them.
I mean, again, this is a very Willy Wonka perspective. I could believe that. Why not? I mean, like Disneyland has secret tunnels underneath it. Why wouldn't Baskin Robbins have like a ice cream pipeline system?
The ceilings are like waffle cone. Yeah, waffle cone ceilings, yeah. But I kept being like, "Hey, this is leaking and I think I'm going to trip on it." And they were like, "Okay, yeah, sure." Took them a really long time to actually do anything about it, and when they did, it was like a duct tape, like get on your knees, use a wrench type of situation. I was like, I don't think this is what we need right now. I think we need to call somebody to fix this.
Like,
so
cool. It's Teflon tape. We'll be right.
Yeah, it's cool. It's actually what's the name of the tape that where he puts it on the boat?
Oh, Flex tape. Yeah, Flex Seal.
Flex Seal. Yeah. Maybe it was Flex Seal.
Dude, if my manager said that, I'd be like, bro, I spent and got Flex Seal. I'd be like, we're set, man. We could throw this whole store in a lake. Like, we'd be all right. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, it should be leak proof. You just like put some strips around the door. Should be fine. Should be fine.
I've seen those ads. I believe it.
Yeah, but I kept being like, hey, fix this. And they like did a very like not great job at fixing it, and it kept leaking. I kept bringing it up, and then one day we were having this rush. I believe it was like the 4th of July weekend or something. So everybody wanted ice cream. It was hot. Yeah, and it might have it was either that or like the 31st. So it was just really, really, really busy.
Yeah.
And then I'm walking and like getting the ice cream for everybody, and I slip inevitably on the floor because they kept not fixing the pipe. And the manager, he was here today. You want to know what he did? He stepped over me. I was laying on the floor in a puddle of water.
He's like, Elena, get up. Why are you on the ground? Just steps. Yeah.
He literally stepped over me. I quit like 2 days later. I was like, no. You're
nicer than me. I probably would have been like, yeah, dog, I'm just going to like grab an ice cream cone and go home now. Like my day's done now. I'm out.
Well, at least I did get free ice cream every shift. That was the upside. When I worked at Jamba Juice, I only got 50% off. I also worked at Bath and Body Works. I have all the corporate inside secrets. I'm kind of like a vault. I actually have a candle collection too.
Dude, I can make candles. This is nice.
Oh, you can make candles?
Well, it's not to quote Breaking Bad, but it's just basic chemistry.
What's the basic chemistry? Is the chemistry does it have to do with the scent? Does it have to do with the wax?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just kind of like making the wax because you think you're just kind of like wax is essentially a fat, so you're kind of taking some sort of non-polar source like fats and turning it into like a waxy kind of form, which you can do using some like fancy Gandalf style tricks. And then really once you have the wax, then it's just a matter of like, almost like laying out like like chocolate. You could lay it out on a thing, get it into
Mhm.
like the strips, and then you can wrap it around like a wick. And then at that point,
Wow.
you can just kind of like mix in any like scent or fun stuff you want to
I
put in
kind
the
of want a,
wicks.
a custom Chris candle.
I don't know if I have the equipment to do it. I have the knowledge to do it.
You have the
Um,
brain power.
yeah, like it's kind of one of those things where like I've done it in a lab before, and I could definitely do it again. I just don't have any. Like I could also make soap pretty. I can make a mean bar of soap. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, soap's pretty easy too.
That's
Which, if you've ever
awesome.
seen Fight Club, their recipe is pretty straightforward. It's like, yeah, just take some fat,
Take some soap, add
add
some
some
soap.
base. Well, no, you can't. Yeah, take some soap and add some soap. But have you ever seen Fight Club?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Well,
But apparently, I'm not supposed to talk about it.
yeah,
So.
we're not. Well, we can talk about the movie. We just can't talk about the actual club itself. But yeah, essentially there's this whole like sub arc to it of like, oh, I work for a soap company, and he's like, yeah, no, it's soap's easy. You just take fat and you're treating it with pretty much a base, and bam, you have some crude, but soap,
Crude soap.
crude soap. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you're not gonna get that nice thing of like Dawn, but you can clean yourself with it.
I do get made fun of by friends for having very limited movie knowledge. I just within the past year watched Harry Potter, Star Wars. I hadn't seen
Harry
those.
Potter's excusable. I don't know.
Harry Potter's excusable, but also I did really enjoy it, so I was kind of mad at myself for not seeing
There you
it
go.
sooner.
There you go.
Star Wars, I hadn't seen until very recently. There's a tiny part of me that was like, I don't even want to watch it because everybody's just so into it that I was just like, no,
Oh
I won't
no!
watch
Don't
it.
let that stop you. You're like, it
I
must be good
know.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was all right. I thought it was good, but
Now, did you
I
watch like all of them, like all the existing movies? I guess
I watched
quite a lot at this point now. 10 of them.
original trilogy,
Uh-huh.
and then I watched some of the prequels, and I've seen all of the more recent ones except for the most
Like,
recent
I
one.
watched 5 minutes of the middle of the Phantom Menace. It was amazing. You just
Yeah, that's all I watched actually. Yeah, I watched Star Wars. I watched Star
yeah.
Wars.
There you go. Well, it's like I remember. This is definitely an aging myself comment. Like I remember when it was just a trilogy, and then they're like, "Dude, Phantom Menace is coming out," and you're like, "Don't get me wrong, I was definitely like a little kid," but you're like, "What?" Like,
Another one.
dude, and like the previews came out, and you're like, "Wait, what? They're making a movie? I thought those were made in like the '70s. That's crazy."
Wow, really? So, how old were you when they like came out with the prequels?
8. I think I was 8 or 9. I can't remember the exact year Phantom Menace came out. That's the problem. I should have like reviewed my Star Wars research for this podcast. I
Yeah.
apologize, folks.
Seems like you came really unprepared
I
here,
know the
Chris.
trilogy started in I think 77,
hmm
which I was definitely not alive for. But that was my, like when you're a little kid, you're like, dude, those are old school movies. Because when like I first saw Star Wars, it was like really little, like straight VHS. But they didn't even have like the digital, like you remember they went in, they're like, oh, we enhanced it using like computer imagery stuff. It was just like, yeah, it's just a legit set. But yeah, I think I was about like 8 or 9 when that one came out.
Yeah, I feel like kind of a hater for not having watched them until now.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely a Star Wars nerd. And I kind of have like that standpoint where it's like, dude, all I had was those VHS tapes, which I think I broke because I watched them so much.
Oh my god!
Like I was just like, dude, fire up Empire Strikes Back again. And dude, I loved those movies. Yeah, so when the Phantom Menace came out, I was like losing my like little kid mind, going back to like how things are when you're a little kid. And of course, my birthday is in May, so it's always like right when they're trying to drop summer movies and stuff. And it's May 21st for those audience members listening. But the point is kind of towards the end of May. So like that's all with it. Literally it came out on my birthday. And so like straight up got to get out of school and stuff. It was like, of course, Phantom Menace is talked about. It's like probably one of the worst Star Wars movies, but I loved it as a kid.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, dude, that guy's got a double-sided lightsaber. Like, best part.
So wait, you said your birthday was May 21st?
Yes.
Does that mean you might not care about astrology at all? That's
That
okay.
means I am the first day of Gemini.
Gemini?
Yes, first day. That is literally the like start day. I don't know, because I think they like went and like retconned the astrology, which to me it means has some falsities to it. But like I remember
Oh
they
yeah, probably.
at some point they're like, yeah, there's a new thing. There's a new sign. We have to squeeze it in somewhere. And they like kind of like moved all the dates, and I was like, no, but they're like, oh, it's cool. They almost treated it like catalog rights, ironically. They're like, oh no, but if you're born this way, you still have the old astrology. And you're like, what?
It's fine.
Yeah. They're like, don't ask questions. Just enjoy that your day is going to be a positive one. You're like, okay, cool, thank you.
This sounds silly, but I would have guessed that you were a Gemini.
I am a Gemini. First day of Gemini, just barely.
I probably would have guessed that.
Had I been like probably more of a kicking baby, I probably would have been a Taurus because I would have been born the day before.
Well, good thing that you were less of a kicking baby because it makes sense. But it seems like we have like a half an hour before I have to leave. I do want to talk about like your campus involvement and my campus involvement.
Definitely. You want to start us off on the new segment?
New segment, just before we have to wrap things up. Okay. First, I want to talk about why I chose Sac State, because it was actually kind of an interesting story. Because I moved from San Diego, and all the time, people will be like, "Why did you come here?" And I'm like, "Cause it's a good school, and I like it a lot." But people are like, "No, but like San Diego has such good weather, like it's such a pretty place."
Physically, why did you decide to come to the Sacramento area?
Yeah, exactly. But when I was in high school, was
it's totally. Funny, I feel like it's a good school is still the same answer. You're like, well, I'm here
because
for the school. Like I can't, but go on.
Yeah, I when I was in high school was like, I'm going to community college. I had pretty good grades. I was really involved on campus, but I was just like, I'm going to community college because it's more economical and whatever. So my parents were like, you don't have to do that if you don't want. Like, we set aside some money for you to go to college. Like, we have enough for you to go to a CSU for 4 years. Like, that's an option. And I was like, oh, intriguing. So I didn't start applying to colleges until like September of my senior year, and a lot of those applications closed in October.
Yeah.
So everybody had been thinking about like all the schools they wanted to go to. They'd been writing essays. Yeah. And I was just like, I don't know. So I looked at the list of CSUs and I was like, okay, I'm just going to apply to like San Francisco State, Monterey Bay, Sonoma, Humboldt. And then
SF State, side note, is a beautiful campus, but go on.
It's a beautiful campus, but also like the living situation, I've heard can be very difficult because housing is so expensive. But yeah, I applied there. And then I was about to like submit my list, because at our school you need to submit a list of all the places you were applying to make sure that like they were getting your transcripts.
Gotcha.
So, but I like right before I turned my paper in, my mom was like, have you thought about like Sac State before? And I was like, what state?
She's like holding a squirrel, petting it. Like,
have you heard?
Have you considered Sacramento State? Like,
no, I literally had never heard about the school. I hadn't. Like,
which makes sense. Yeah, you're from SoCal. Like,
I hadn't looked into it. So we had a friend who was going here. Who was my sister's age. So my sister's like 3 years older than me. So he was still going here. Gotcha. And we had a friend, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Looked up some pictures. I was like, you know what? Yeah, this place looks cool. They had a good department for the degree I was applying to. Not the degree I'm gonna get anymore. So we'll talk about that later. But they had a good environmental studies department, and I was like, you know what? Let's just apply, throw my hat in there. And then I applied to everything, and some time passed, and I decided that I was going to do some touring, because I got into every school I applied to, and I was like, well, now I have options. So I decided to come up to NorCal for like to just check out the schools. So I was planning just check everything out. I was planning on coming to Sac State first, then Sonoma, and then San Francisco State, and maybe Monterey Bay. But then I looked at Google Maps images of Monterey Bay and actually changed my mind. I was like, we don't have to go there. A lot of the dorms that they have there are converted from like old military bunkers.
Awesome.
And cool.
Had you told me that, I would have been like, I am hardcore going to Monterey Bay. That sounds super dope.
Yeah, actually, I think it was interesting. A few like super major celebrities, because they were used as military bunkers, like when there was a big push for people to
Back in the
like.
day.
I think back when the draft was still going on,
Yeah.
and a bunch of like super major celebrities actually like stayed in the Monterey military bunkers. I'm pretty sure like Jerry Garcia and like a bunch of like
I'm
crazy
sure
like.
that guy probably slept on every street in the Bay Area at some point.
Oh yeah, no, probably
He's
that
like, I
that
took
would
a
make
nap here
sense.
one time.
No, there were plenty of people who went there,
Yeah.
but I was like, oh, and apparently the housing situation was just kind of weird and it's not really
I
like
could understand
near
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty concentrated. But anyways, I decided not to go there, but my plan was to come here and tour Sac State, Sonoma, and San Francisco State.
Mm-hmm.
Once I toured Sac State, didn't tour the other two.
Yeah.
I
There
was
you
like,
go. There you
I
go.
like this. This is cool. I can see myself here. Like the campus is pretty. I like the area. Like I could see myself going here. So I basically went from like planning on going to community college to
Mm-hmm.
just committing to Sac State over the course of a couple of months. I actually had I had also applied to San Diego State and I accepted my what do they call it?
That
When
like
they offer.
they're like, yeah, they're like, hey, you're good, you in?
You're good. You in
You in?
enrollment. Yeah.
The,
Well,
the
I
wink meme.
wink, wink. Yeah, I accepted my admission before San Diego State had even gotten back to me. So I was like, this is good. I'm good with this. I also this is before COVID because I
before times.
The before times.
That's how Valoy called it, the before time.
Oh my god.
I got that from him. Yeah.
That's hilarious. But I just made that decision and it feels I really like it here. I really like it here. The campus is so great. Like I found a good community. I also applied to the GE honors program before I got here and I am in the GE honors program, which has been a really cool opportunity.
Nice.
If any first year students are watching this, I don't know if they can actually still apply. So I don't know if anybody
going to be a
is going to be a first year student.
I don't know if anybody high school
point.
audience, but
well, we just need to network. We need to network a little more.
And the same episode as the drinky stories.
The drinky stories and the fingers and ball pits.
Oh, yeah.
But I really recommend the GE honors program to anybody who's considering it because it's a really cool opportunity. I know coming to such a big school can be really overwhelming, especially when a lot of your GE courses are going to be like these huge lectures, especially like area B. I know I've had to take a few like pretty big lectures in area B, but
best part, what are you talking about?
Yeah, from the person who literally changed majors because I didn't want to take a bio class. That was a big consideration. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to take Chem 1A soon, Bio 1. Ooh.
Oh, I'd like the opposite. I was like, I'm gonna go biochemistry because that means I get to take both biology and chemistry. If I just do chemistry, I'm just gonna only be doing one.
Oh my god!
So I was psyched about doing it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
If you are like more like English brained, more like English brained, that sounds weird, but like as a person who really like I value discussion, I value participation. A lot of my honors courses had like 20 to 30 people. I had an honors class last semester where there were 9 people in my class. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I really like it. You get a lot more one-on-one support. The it's not like the classes are like super hard.
Yeah.
Either. I took 18 units last semester and 5 of my courses were honors courses. I ended they just like
more involved? Like what would academically, besides just like the name and you had to apply for a program and all that, like what would academically distinguish an honors course? And this is a legit question because I don't know my classes. I didn't take any of those honor like GE stuff. What would distinguish a GE honor course from like a regular vanilla GE course to
Well,
look at?
there's more there's smaller sections. That's something that they talk about a lot in the honors program. Like
Gotcha.
they really emphasize smaller sections and like more opportunities to have
So kind of
one-on-one
like what you were just
participation.
talking about type
Yeah,
deal.
yeah, that's really cool. They also focus on like a lot more on social issues. Something really cool about the honors program is that each cohort has a wicked problem that you have to connect all of your courses back to. So a wicked problem is basically like a problem that is so multifaceted that it's really difficult to even
I was gonna say, this
explain in
got
one
really
way.
Boston very fast. Like, you
Very
got a
boss,
wicked
wicked
problem to
problem.
take care of.
My mom's maiden name is Murphy, and she's from Boston, so
Nice.
I'm very aware of the
I like
lingo.
it. I like
Yeah,
it.
but a wicked problem is basically just a like multifaceted problem that's
Yeah.
very difficult to like explain in one way. So for example, I know one cohort is justice. So I think my cohort personally is justice.
I've read
Another
those
one,
comics.
yeah, exactly. No, but like I had to take a polls class and I had to
Mhm.
connect the themes of a polls class to justice and talk about like justice within our governmental
Yeah.
systems. And then you can talk about justice within I know I had a critical thinking education 10, but the honors section of it.
Mhm.
We had to connect like critical thinking to how we like view our justice system. So you kind of have these like
Gotcha.
overarching themes that you connect all of your GE courses to
That's kind of
and
cool.
connect like I think it's really cool,
Yeah.
especially with English courses when you take like the actual content of a course and try to apply themes from that content to an overarching theme.
Yeah.
But it's really cool because I think there's a lot of problems in this world that we kind of write off because they're so multifaceted and complicated to even consider. But to actually like take a look at a problem and then use all of these resources, use all of this knowledge and everything that you've picked up over the course of all of your GE classes, and then to like have a better idea of how our society could handle that problem and just be
Mhm.
well informed about it,
Mhm.
especially when it's such an overarching problem like justice. I think it's a really, really cool opportunity. You can also graduate with a minor, an honors minor that will be
That's cool.
attached to your degree,
Yeah.
which is super, super cool. So yeah, I've really honestly enjoyed it so far. It's been really good for me. And I like the small class sizes. Sarah is also in the honors program. So
Nice. And for
I
those
knew them for
listening,
there.
Sarah is another of our orientation leaders. We should have just had you guys come on at the same time. I don't know. I was like thinking that halfway through, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, it's just been a very great experience. And I genuinely just I want everybody to try to be in it. I know most people who even apply, they have
Mhm.
a wait list, and a lot of students who apply for the honors program are like, "Oh, I'll only go to Sac State if I get into the honors program." So
Gotcha.
a lot of people will get into the honors program and then be like, "Oh, I changed my mind." So the wait list, there is a wait list,
Kind
but
of always
most
in.
people who apply actually get into the program. So it's a really
Gotcha.
cool
As long as you
opportunity.
like commit to it and keep being persistent, I guess.
Yeah, there are certain requirements that you have to meet. You have to attend honors events. So
Mhm.
they have I think you need to attend only like 4 a semester. You have to attend convocation, which is like a special honors convocation. You also get credit for attending the
Is
whole
that like
convocation for the
a
school.
meeting
Yeah, it's like a
of
meeting
the?
at the beginning of each semester.
Gotcha.
In the before times, people would get like all dressed up and
Sounds
it'd be
fun, doesn't
like,
it?
yeah, it
Yeah.
does sound in the before times,
The
but
before times, the
in the before
dinosaurs.
times, people would get all dressed up, and it was like this big, nice event where the honors faculty would give speeches, and then people from the honors program themselves would actually get up and share about their experiences. I know in the last convocation, we actually had
Mhm.
somebody talk about how they were studying abroad when COVID hit and they had to like find a way to get back and like the experiences that they pulled from it. So it was kind of like a little TED talk. And
Nice.
they talked about like all the good experiences that they had studying abroad. But overall, super cool program. I think it's something that is really unique at Sac State. When I imagined an honors program, I kind of imagined it to just be like much more rigorous courses, but
Mhm.
it seems like a lot
Mhm.
more focused on the humanities. Sorry, there's a cat here now. Do you want to say
I'm
hi?
like looking around my room, like, is there? I didn't. But no, oh my god, we got a cat.
Yeah, this is Sarah's cat actually. Her
That's why
name
I
is
look familiar.
Sweetheart. She really, really likes to step on my desk right when I start my one-on-one advising sessions. This is one of her favorite things to do. Anyways, just had to take a little break. Gonna put her over here. She'll
Cat break.
cat break. But yeah, no, the honors program is fantastic, and I totally recommend it to anybody who's considering it. So yeah, that's been really fun. I'm also in
I was
yes,
gonna say, is it only available when you're signing up as a first year student?
I
Or
believe
what are
so.
okay.
Yeah, I think there are specific honor societies for majors which you can join, but the GE honors program, I believe, is only open to like applying freshmen during the admissions process.
Gotcha.
All right. Sweetheart is getting she likes getting tossed onto the bed and then jumping back onto the desk. But in terms of other involvement, I'm also in a sorority, which is super cool.
What?
Super cool.
You
Yeah,
shout out to your sorority.
Shout out to Sigma Kappa CSUS. You can find them on Instagram as well.
Nice.
But yeah, I actually joined the sorority during COVID because I moved here and I was like, oh, looks like I don't have any friends. I moved here with my boyfriend, so we lived together, but we were just hanging out together.
Yeah, but like
all the time.
Like, you want to get that social aspect of the school.
Oh
right?
yeah, well when you move somewhere, you're like, oh,
like, I, don't
I moved here
right
being
now.
like, oh, I'm going to make so many friends. I can't wait to be social. And then you get here, everybody's locked inside of their apartments. Like you can try to make friends, but a lot of my conversations with people in my classes had just been like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
Like there are cool conversations. I met some cool people, but it would be weird if I was like, hey, you want to go hang out? You want to call?
Yeah, yeah. Hang out on Zoom and do stuff. like, yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to feel forced. So I was like, what is an organization that I could like just kind of chill out with? And I can connect this back to O Team. I was talking with Chris a little bit about this before, but when I was applying to be on the orientation team, I applied 5 minutes before the application was due. I had actually seen, let me see if I have it in my student planner. There's an ad.
Shutter like slowly closing as you like run towards it.
Literally, there's an ad. I saw this ad in this exact planner.
Ooh,
Become a Sac State orientation leader. I saw that at the beginning of the summer, and I was like, wow, okay. My sister had been an orientation leader at San Diego State, and she really liked it. So I was like, that sounds like a fun little thing. And it was one of those tabs that I had to open in my browser for weeks. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to apply this. I'm going to do it. And then the day it was due, I was like, I'm just not going to do it. It's fine. It's whatever. I hadn't really been going through the best period because like I'd moved up here and
everything was
it was just overwhelming. I was like, it's whatever. It's fine. And then something hit me. I was like, you know what? No. You are going to fill out this application. This is something you wanted. Like, even if it's a bad application, like, what's the hurt in that? Like, take 30 minutes. You're fine. So I started applying for, I believe it was due at like 5 p.m. or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was literally 4 o'clock. And I was like, okay, time to apply. So I like did it. I literally typed so fast. I like only proofread it with like Grammarly. That's how fast I was going, how speedy I was. And then I sent it in and I was like, okay, it's fine. This is out of my hands now. And once I went through the whole interview process and actually got in, that's when I started talking to Sarah, because Sarah and I had been in classes together before. And we were like, oh, look, we're in classes and now we have the same job. That's super cool. Yeah. So I messaged them and I was like, hey, let's like call sometime. Maybe we could practice, do some GE sheets, something like that. And we called and we like immediately hit it off. And they spent a lot of time talking about the sorority they were in. I was like, wow, that sounds like fun. Sounds like you are meeting a lot of friends and getting to do stuff during COVID. That sounds so cool. So then I joined the sorority and I met one of my other best friends in the sorority. So if it weren't for that like 5-minute decision, I wouldn't have this job. I wouldn't be in a sorority. I wouldn't have 2 of my closest best friends. So it's just one of those little butterfly effect moments that I feel like has deeply affected my whole life.
That is a good origin story.
Yeah, a good one. And not evil origin story either.
Well, yeah, definitely. Well, I don't know. Now we have like the black polos. I feel very villainous when I wear like the black polo. Like it's
You
like
give people like bad recommendations, then you're like, just kidding,
yeah,
I'm
like when we show
evil.
up and we have the black shirts on, I'm like, I feel like we're like the bizarro, like evil version of the orientation team, and we're like, we've come from the alternate universe
See,
too.
that's your perspective because you are only used to the green. With the black, I'm like, yeah, this is
I've
fine.
also read a
I'm
lot
warm
of
right
comic
now.
books, so I'm like, that would be a far more interesting plot line than
Evil O team.
the real secret nefarious reason we have the dark
What would be
polos.
the name of the evil O team?
I kind of like
The
Bizarro O team. That sounds good to me. Because
Bizarro
there's
team.
Bizarro Superman, who's like this evil sort of Superman.
Bizarre O team.
Yeah. Oh, Bizarro team. There you go. You have to say it like one whole thing. But yeah, no, my origin story it's kind of similar. Like I know some folks were like they oh my god, like itch on my forehead. But they went through orientation and they're like, oh my god, this is for me. And they just kind of knew right off the bat, which I think is awesome. You know, if you kind of get that connection right there. I was definitely one of those like, oh, you know, I went to orientation, did all that stuff, and then didn't really think about it much. You know, I was kind of doing my whole deal. I really just came over here like, hey guys, I'm awesome at chemistry. Can you point me in the way of my classes? Thank you. Um, and so like finally, I think it was on like my second semester. It's in the fall, and you get like this email like, hey, we're looking for like I had this image of like the Uncle Sam
We're
posters from
looking
like
for you.
yeah, you know, it's like we're looking for like dedicated science students or something. I have to pull up the email and find the wording. I should like print it out and frame it like this was the beginning. But yeah, it was just like a pretty much that like worded, didn't have that image, but like the wording kind of evoked that of just like we want a chemistry student to join the team, and you're like okay, and I was like yeah cool. No, and same type of deal. Like I downloaded the application. I was like, what's that thing you have to do and you want a job? Oh yeah, apply.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, apply. But you know, I was like filling it out, doing all that, and then same type of deal was like, oh man, I got all focused with this stuff because that was like a crazy semester. So you know, you got like exams and stuff going. You're like, whoa, that's due today, and like it was you know some Friday, and I think it was probably due like in the evening, but I worked at a different campus on Fridays.
Oh
So I was like,
yeah.
oh
Was
my
that when you were
god,
tutoring at
yeah,
American
at
River?
ARC. Yeah. American River, exactly. I should avoid the acronyms. But because we also have the AIRC at
The
Sac State. So
arc.
yeah, which the AIRC. You have to say it
Arc.
like you're from Fargo or like Wisconsin. Like, but yeah, I was like, oh yeah, oh man, let's do it today. And I was like, had that quick decision. I was like, do I still want to do this? I was like, heck yeah, I still want to do this. And like filled it out real quick. And I remember having like my biochemistry lecture. I might have had an exam that day or something. I remember having something that I was like, I also need to study. So I was like, quickly like made sure I finished it. And of course, it was in the before time. So I actually had to go and like print it out and like run it over
Oh my
to
gosh.
Lassen Hall and then bounce back to, I think Sequoia was where my class was. And so I was just like, like run over to the Union. You know, you're standing in that printer line because you're like, oh, I really should have printed this last night. How did I forget? And you know, like you're doing like the, why is everyone else need to print stuff right now? And you print stuff, run all the way across campus, drop it off, and they're like, no, wait, you got to sign up for the group interview. And I was like, you know, like halfway out the door, already like my mind's back on like, okay, got these reactions down. I'm ready to do this quiz. And you're like, and definitely no regrets joining the team, but I'm in that same boat where it's like, man, there could have just been something busy on campus that literally would have made my application late, and then that would have just been.
See, it's one thing to like submit it online at like 4:55. It's another thing to be like like running across campus.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you got to drop it off in whatever the office number is. It's been way too long since I've been over there, but you know, like, oh, you're like, and especially like, you know, when you're applying, you don't necessarily know where orientation office is. You're just like, oh snap, I gotta go to Lassen. Woo! And for those of you who don't know, the Union is somewhat across campus from Lassen, so you're just
Somewhat.
like, somewhat. I mean, they're not really next to each other. Let's put it that way. So when you're like, oh, it was definitely a moment of I really should have fully read all the submission directions instead of just thinking about the actual like questions, which are valid. You know, you want to have good answers for those too. But I was like, oh dang, I thought I could just online this whole thing.
Oh my gosh. I am still I still don't really
No
like
regrets. No
fully under
regrets.
oh yeah, no regrets. I still don't like fully understand how much distance it takes to get across campus. So when we were having those first days of Stuff Fest,
Uh-huh.
because just a little exposition for people who don't know what that is, we stuffed packages that we sent out to all the new students, transfer. I don't think we've finished the ones for new freshmen yet
I
fully,
don't
but
think so. But
yeah.
yeah, you have the right idea down.
Yeah, we sent them out, but we spent a couple of days just doing that straight through. But we had to come onto campus and work for the first time. Like we hadn't actually worked in person together, but
Mm.
we all came to campus, and it was also during commencement, which was our graduation this year. And you had to park all the way across campus in that
Yeah,
parking
because you were
structure near the
there
Welcome Center.
during like the prep day, which was the day
Yeah.
before commencement.
Mhm.
And so yeah, we're like walking through campus, and you're like, you got all these dudes setting up like their sound booths and everything, and you're like, I haven't been on campus in like
I
a
haven't.
year
No.
or like ever, depending on yeah.
Yeah, when commencement was happening, it was even worse because we had to park all the way near the Arboretum and the Welcome Center over there.
I can
So
never say that right.
Arboretum,
I'm like
Logan actually taught me how to say it.
I'm like it's the tree pen,
I called it the
the tree
Arboretum for
cage.
a
It's
little
where we keep our
while.
trees.
Maybe I should go. I love the Arboretum. That's one of those like secret spots on
No, it
campus
is
that I
really
love.
cool. Yeah, yeah. Because I'm like the
The
tree
tree
house,
place.
the tree place, the tree field.
But I had to park all the way over there, and
Mhm.
I left my house. We had to be there at like
Which is
eight
also not close to the
thirty.
Union.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. But
Yeah.
I think we had to be there at like 8:30. I left my
Uh-huh.
house. I live very close to campus. Won't give any specifics, but it's like a
Yeah.
two
Yeah. Yeah.
or three
Fairly
minute
close.
drive.
Yeah.
And I got
Give us
like
the
left at
coordinates.
8. I parked my car. I didn't know. Nobody told me this because I had online orientation. I didn't know that the pay machine is on the 3rd floor. Nobody told me this.
I mean, I
That to
didn't
pay for your
know, and
parking.
I even had in-person orientation. That being said, my orientation leader could have said it. I could have just been like, "That's not a chemistry fact."
No,
But go
literally.
on.
I wish I had known about that, but then I was like, I don't know. I had to
Yeah.
pay for my own parking because I had no idea where the parking machine was. Thought it would be on the 1st floor because, that makes sense. Everyone goes to the 1st floor. But no, I
Nope.
had to pay for my parking. It was like $7 or $8. And then I get all the way, I'm running across campus, literally running across campus. And I get inside. It's like 8:31. And Mary's like, hey, Elena, like, go ahead, sign in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? I thought I was gonna be in trouble. Like there were literally 5 people there.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they knew too. Like, oh, the driving was ridiculous. I remember showing up like that day before, and was like, oh, I for some reason I totally saw that email of like, yeah, road closures, and I didn't think like, oh, that's the road I drive. I was like, yeah, cool, check, awesome, stuff's closed down, commencement,
Check.
sounds good. And I get there, and I'm all driving towards like parking lot or parking structure 2 or 3 because it's kind of where I usually park because it's kind of close to science stuff. And there's this like very sweet like probably worked for UTAPs or whoever, but like like blocking the road, and I'm like, hey, try to do the all like, so I'm on orientation. Do you think you can like let me through? And I was all like, little maybe something, a free advising session. But she was like, and I could tell like the best part was she had like this very visible like dissonance between like, my boss told me to watch this road. But
I'm
this
imagining
guy,
you.
this guy seems believable that he's in orientation. That doesn't seem like something people would lie about. It's very specific.
I'm trying to find my sheet of like Herky the Hornet
Yeah,
stickers. I'm
but
imagining you taking the sheet of stickers and like sliding them and being like,
I didn't even, that was the prep days. I didn't even have my badge, or else I would have been like, I'm on orientation. Do you mind like if I slip through? Because I was like, yeah, I'm here to like stuff. We're prepping some materials for new students, yada yada. Versus like, hey, you should just let me through because I'm on the team.
like an FBI badge. You're like,
oh yes,
Christopher Raymond.
I mean, that's kind of how it worked over at ARC. You would just be like, yeah, my job title at ARC when I left was master tutor. So we'd be like, yeah, master tutor. I'm good. What I'm doing is authorized. And yeah, it was great times. But yeah, that was essentially the approach I was going for, was like, hey, I'm part of like staff, yo. I got orientation business, which is kind of what I said. It was like, I'm orientation leader here on orientation business.
On an orientation business, very
Can you
top
let me
secret.
through? Yeah, I would definitely. Had I had my name tag, I would have flashed it. I'm like, here you go.
Did she let you through?
No, she didn't. She was nice, and I didn't want to like push her too hard on it. I was like, oh, if she lets me through, type deal. But I was like, all right. And so I ended up doing pretty much exactly what you said. Like, okay, I'm gonna go out there. Thankfully, I knew where the ticket machine was. Not that that really shaved off much time, because you're like, oh my goodness, I gotta. But yeah, and it was like running across, calling the bosses, like, I'm so sorry.
I actually that morning I was trying to remember like where did I park on the first day? Sarah's car broke down that day.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah,
Well, I remember you telling me. Yeah, you guys telling me about that.
We were like, because it was the first day of work, and Mary, who is our boss, very much is like, be on time, be punctual, which of course, like I love
like your Mary voice.
be on time, be punctual. But I that's something that I care about a lot too. I was like, I want to be on time on the first day. And then we get to the car. Sarah hadn't eaten yet, so Sarah like walked over to McDonald's, and I went over to the car, and then I was like, huh? Just turning the car. I'm like, and then Sarah like couldn't get lunch, and then we had to have our friend pick us up, and then we got there like sweating, and then same thing happened. They were like, oh yeah, you can wait a second before you can like come in. Like you're good. And I was like, oh, I thought I was gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, well, at least you still had the effort and the values in place, I guess.
The values in place.
Yeah, because overall that is probably the best approach when dealing with orientation. You definitely don't want to be late.
I'm a big early riser. I lately have been like getting up at like 5:30 to finish up some of my like non-TCE. I'll do like 30 minutes of my prep hour at night, and I'll get up at like 5:30, and I'll do a bunch of my like this probably doesn't make sense to people who aren't orientation leaders.
Advising notes. She does advising
notes. I do advising notes at like 5:30 in the morning, and then I like chug a Red Bull, and then I get to the beginning of the session. I'm like, hey guys, and I just crash at night.
Picture you like just shotgunning the Red Bull. You're typing something, just like God, down it and just crunch it, just chuck it. Like barely misses the cat. The cat's like,
oh my gosh. Wow. Have you been like? How'd you know that I do that?
Because I've also done many advising notes. We were like feverishly you look like a novelist, like writing your memoirs. Like that's just always the look of an orientation leader. You're like typing. I do all mine like on Word, and you're just like take a quick sip. Oh, I smell my coffee. You do that. Almost like throw the cup down. You're like, thankfully it landed.
You like throw it at the wall and it shatters.
I've definitely set my cup down and it's been like, and you're like, oh God, and you're just like. Throw a towel on it real quick and keep typing.
Sweetheart complicates the process. She has knocked over cups on my desk before.
It happens.
It happens.
That's the downside, I guess, and the upside of a cat. I feel like the visits, but definitely that's where I prefer the dog, who at least will bark, but thankfully doesn't usually knock my stuff over.
Thankfully doesn't usually step all over your keyboard.
She's got like the the big old tail swiping around, so sometimes she'll get a little too jazzed up. Yeah.
What kind of dog?
Border terrier. So like.
Oh yeah.
I always say like she's in between like a mid-size and like a full-size dog, and that tail, like when she gets all excited, it's like her tail's just always kind of sticking up. So when you see her like walking around, it's like a shark fin. Like I'd be like, oh, that's where Lady is. And yeah, when she gets all excited, it's just like bah, 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 and it's like she's right at that height where if she walks next to like a coffee table, it's just like whoosh, 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 and you're like. Oh yeah, I didn't need to finish that coffee cup.
Yeah, actually, wasn't even planning on it.
The best part about that coffee is now I get to clean it out of the carpet. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's my ideal.
Yeah, that is something that I've slowly become like. I used to be a full dog person, like almost a mean dog person, where I was like, if you like cats, you're stupid. Like that was the kind of mindset I had, and then. I spent time with cats, and I had to move away from my dogs in San Diego. And I was like, wait. They're quiet.
I've always had just like savage cats who are like, yeah, dog, I go fight every night. And like, I had a cat that came back one time who was like, he looked like one of the, like, what's his name? Leonidas from 300. He came back with like a slash. and he's just like, yeah, what up, son? Like, you mind if I get some of that coffee pot? And you're like, yeah, bro, help yourself. Like, all you. And the thing is, I got better. He was just like, yeah, it ain't a thing. It's cool. Like, that guy was a savage. And like, I've always just had cats who've just done that. And maybe I've always lived places with like a lot of cats. So it's just kind of one of those like for the cats, it's just the streets. You know what I
Sacramento
mean?
has a lot of cats. In my apartment complex, there are
does.
tons of stray cats. I actually have a cat who chose me and lives on my balcony. He lives
There you go.
he lives on my porch, and he's been living
Get him
there
a
for like
polo.
2 months. Do you say he has a polo?
I said get him a polo.
Sorry, my connection cut out for a second.
You're good.
Oh, I should get him a polo, a black one.
Little fancy
That
polo.
would be
for
cute.
him.
Yeah, once I started feeding him food, he's like a kitten. He looks like he's about like 6 months old. He has these cute little meows, and he's been living there for like 2 months now. Yeah, he just showed up one day out of nowhere. So I guess I just
feed him, or
I feed him. Yeah,
you feed him all, take care of you. Yeah, that's why. Now he's like, he was testing the waters, and he's like, hey, I've been showing up to 5 balconies before this.
Looks like this one's pretty nice.
This is the one with all the food. Nice. This is the hookup balcony.
Yeah, they got to me.
Sounds worse than I meant.
No, he got to me. He knew the power that he has over me. Because every time I see him, I'm like, oh my god, you're so cute and small. And he's like, yeah, I am. Now go get me some tuna.
I love it. Well, Elena, I know we're a couple minutes over the noon time. I don't want to hold you up too much if you have to get to going.
Yeah, I should probably. I do want to get.
Martin Lawrence says, "Get to stepping."
Get to stepping. Yeah, I probably do want to head out soon. I need to get the transmission fixed on my car. Yep.
Yeah. Good luck on that one. But nonetheless, Elena, it was awesome having you on the show. That was a fantastic conversation. Like I said, these ones are always super fun. Sometimes you just get into it and you just get carried away.
Yeah.
But no, it was great having you on. I would love to have you on again. Certainly continue the conversation. I know we could probably keep talking probably forever. But no, thank you for taking some time coming on the show. It was super fun. To everyone listening, hope you all having a good day. Definitely stay cool, wherever you're listening, on whatever device you may happen to be listening to. Definitely stay safe if you're driving and listening. But nonetheless, coming from the whole entire O team, which we are unofficially representing, because we are not officially representative of the Sacramento State orientation team. From certainly myself, host of the podcast, Chris, and Elena, my fantastic guests, we all want to wish you, all two of us, an amazing
all two of us,
Stingers Up.